Welcome back to the 10th episode of the Design Sessions. I'm very excited to see you today, and I have a great session planned for you. So let me just tell you, we are going to go live with your Q&A in 1 hour. So set your clocks and make sure that you are on Twitter so you can send us your questions, okay? So I just wanted to know, how's your toolbox coming? You know what I'm talking about, right? So the whole idea of the Design Sessions is that we are creating a well-supplied, perfect toolbox with which you can decorate your own home. So each month we cover another tool. How many of you saw the remix of the lighting session? Did they not do a great job? They did an amazing job. I thought it was such a great session. And if you haven't seen it, be sure to go back and purchase that session. It's all on lighting, and it is, you know, it'll light up your life, if you know what I mean. Okay, so today I'm gonna go over a whole nother tool with you, and this one is on window treatments. So remember, hashtag Design Sessions Live on Twitter in 1 hour, okay? Meanwhile, let's get started with window treatments. So I love the topic of window treatments because they make such a huge difference in a room. And if you don't believe that, I'm going to show you a lot of before and after pictures so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Window treatments can change architectural weird things. They can make your room look bigger. They can make it look taller. They can do all kinds of things. So I'm going to show you how to do window treatments. Now, when I was kind of putting together my curriculum for this particular session, I got a little overwhelmed because honestly, the topic of window treatments is vast. There is so much to tell you, and I only have an hour. So I started thinking about it, and after I took a big deep breath, and then I just thought, you know what, here's the deal. I think the reason that you watch the design sessions is because you don't just want to know about a topic, but you want to know how I do it. This is my opportunity to show you the way I do window treatments. Not every window treatment out there, but how I choose to do my window treatments. So I'm going to show you the reasons behind it, and I'm actually going to show you how I do it. We're going to talk about fabrics and colors and textures, all kinds of things about window treatments. So let's get started. Now remember, we have provided you a PDF. So I went ahead and I created a downloadable PDF for you that has a lot more details on window treatments, the topic. So anything I don't cover here should be filled in there. Okay, I'm going to show you the first room here, but this house had extremely tall room in their living room, double set of windows. And my question to you is, when you see this, what do you think to yourself? Am I going to do window treatments that are on the top windows, or am I going to do it on the bottom windows? Because you get to choose, or you can do it somewhere in between, which is exactly what I did. I felt like if I put my window treatments right at the height of the windows here, it was going to make the room look short. And if I took them all the way to the top, it was going to look just proportionately weird. So let's see how that room turned out. Yes, what I have here is horizontally striped window treatments that are absolutely beautiful. And you can see the brown in between the window treatments? I created almost sort of like a transom window. And do you see how much higher that allowed me to take my window treatments? I'd say a good 18, maybe 20, as I recall, I think it's about 20 inches taller. Imagine, take your finger over that picture and imagine if you had to drop those window treatments to the height of that actual window. Wouldn't that have made a big difference in that room and not been anywhere near as impressive? By the way, let me just tell you here, although I'd say 95% of the homes that I do custom window treatments. In my own home, mine are from Bed Bath & Beyond. All the window treatments in my home were purchased, none of them are custom. It can be done well, you'd never know the difference, but you gotta pay attention to the principles I'm gonna teach you today so you know how you can get that custom look without spending the custom dollars. You know what I mean? All right, so this next one is kind of a medium-priced project, and you can see here this person has valances, which I would not do. Trust me, getting rid of those elephant valances was one of the nicer things I did for this client. Also, there are some, it looks like underneath the window on the right, I can tell that she has some drop-down shades, because I'm sure they get a lot of light in that room. Now let me show you what this room turned out like when I was finished. Bam. This is a room now that's very California sunny. And do you see how your eye now doesn't get stopped at the walls? It actually goes right on out to the outside. Good window treatments are about framing your view. And in California, and with people that I work for, typically people who have beautiful homes and gorgeous views and beautiful backyards, their view is priceless. So we frame it and we take your eye on out, which again makes your room feel larger than it actually is. The next one is a budget project. This is what I actually did for my son in his very first apartment. You can see here in his dining room, it was very drab, very dreary. And what we did was we added chocolate velvet IKEA panels. Now, those are very inexpensive. I think they're like $39 or $49 for an individual panel. And you can put them on IKEA rods or actually get better rods, I'd recommend. And then in the window on the left-hand side, what we did was really cool. We actually put in artificial horsetail greenery because it was just a separate window off to the side. And look what a huge difference that made, and all on a very tight budget. Why? Because it was my money. So since I'm gonna teach you about how I do window treatments, I'm gonna reveal to you my process, okay? This is how I approach window treatments. I ask myself a series of questions and it goes in this particular order. You really should take notes on this, all right? The first one is, I assess the window, the room that it's gonna be in. Is there a view out there? Are there neighbors out there? Is this a side window and I'm like, 13 feet away from the next neighbor's house, which has a window looking into mine? So the question is this a window that needs privacy? Is this a window that needs decoration, like pretty window treatments? Or does it need both? Now I'll say that typically in most of our projects, we do both, but I think it really depends on your window. If you don't have someone looking in your window or someone really close to you, you don't need the privacy. But let's address the privacy issue first. This first one is this great man cave that we did for a client. And if you'll notice on the left-hand side, you'll see a dark bronze, actually it looks black in the picture. And what that is a roller shade that you can still see through. This is outside mount. We're gonna talk about things like that. Sometimes you put your window treatments on the outside, and these are actually tucked up under a beam. Look now on the right-hand side, that window over there, there is no roller shade. Do you see the difference in how the light comes into the room? Not only does this offer privacy for the clients, but it also offers sun protection. This next photo shows you a project we just recently finished where we have more of those roller screens. And these are inside mount, meaning it mounts to the inside of your window itself. And we are able to do that because we've covered with window treatments on the side and a valance on top, and you don't see the origin and where they come from. So roller screens are my first and favorite choice. The second one is silhouettes. Silhouettes are made by Hunter Douglas. Honestly, they are really the most versatile of all the privacy window treatments. I'll tell you why. So they have these shutter almost kind of things, but it's fabric. So when you have it open like this, on the outside, it's almost like a netting, so you can still see through your view. So when they're down, you can open them up like this and you have a great view out. You can tilt them for sun and you can close them all the way. Then you have complete privacy. And here's the best part. You can roll them all the way up and they go away, as shown here in the second photo. Right there, they're completely rolled up. You would never even know they're there. Now, if you have plantation shutters, which is something that we also use, they do the same thing. You can open them like this and see through, or you can tilt them for sun, or you can close them for privacy, but you can't get rid of them. They don't go away. You can open them, but now they're in your room. So if you want something that has the most versatility, silhouettes work great. Now here in this office, what you'll see is a shade that comes down. It's actually outside mounted on the top of the wall, and I use it as both a valance for looks and for privacy, and it filters the light really well. This kind of a look is great. It's really kind of a woven wood or a woven reed kind of thing, and there's all different kinds you could choose from. Great for light filtering. It's great for privacy at night. You can roll them all the way up, but it's something that you'd want to use in something a little bit more urban or more rustic, more earthy, manly, nutty, that kind of a look. And then let me show you a budget-friendly version. This is Joey's room. It's one of my videos one of the first YouTube videos I ever put up about interior design. And this is just like a synthetic woven wood. It's supposed to look like it. I think it's probably plastic. Very inexpensive. The downside on these is that they come in predetermined sizes. So hopefully you can find one that fits your window. In this room, it happened to be the perfect size. So here's the scoop on privacy shades. I like to go with something that is as minimal as possible. I'd like them not to be there at all, but you need them, right? That's why roller shades work really well for me. Are there more kinds out there than what I've shown you today? Absolutely. I'm just showing you the kind that I use. And I want to show you this. This is actually a roller screen. We use these all the time. We have them in my office and they're amazing. Now look here, it's dark and it goes down like this, but here's why I like this. Because when you put this in a window, can you see that you can actually still see the view out there? So it's great because it gives you privacy, but you still have that view straight through it. I typically do this dark color. I call it bronze. Why bronze? Well, because I want to see, the reason I do these is I want to see out, right? So if I chose to use this, I've done it with white or off-white, guess what happens? You have to try real hard to see through it. Okay, I don't want that. I want to be able to see out my windows even though I have privacy on the inside. So go with a darker color. Bronze is my color of choice. This is an under, but sometimes if I'm going to use this as a valance as well and I'm going to outside mount it, I do it this way because it's a very clean, sleek, modern look and it gives me a dark valance at the top, and then when it comes down, it just goes right into the window. So that's a little tip. Now you're in a position where you can do the decorative part of the window treatments, which is, of course, the fun part. I always do stationary panels, and I wouldn't have said that until I put this curriculum together. I literally looked through all of my pictures of past projects. I could not find one drape that's a workable curtain.
I actually usually try to place my curtain so that I'm not sliding over that bump.
That's not going to slide ever. It's just for looks.
What do you mean?
These are not workable. They're not meant to be opened and closed. True. I mean, I was even surprised.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dead serious. It doesn't. Yeah, you're messing with me.
So a lot of people traditionally have what we call drapery, curtains, the swag valances, which are very out of style right now. And the deal is they are on a pulley system and you can open them and close them, and that's how you get your privacy. Well, I like window treatments to always look amazing. I don't want them to be partially open or sideways open. So by doing privacy shades and panels, the panels never have to move. No one's taking their hands and putting them on that beautiful fabric and closing them and opening them. They just stay put. And if they kind of sit on the ground a little bit, it's really ideal. Otherwise, your window treatments always look a mess, okay? So have a privacy shade and do your panels on the side. Take a look at this man's room. It's another man cave. Boy, we've done some man caves, haven't we? These are beautiful pleated drapes. I actually treat French doors and sliding glass doors just like windows. It's one of the questions people ask me, what do you do on a French door? Same thing that you would on a window. And look how the roller shades themselves and the track, the little casing that it comes in, really goes away. You don't see it much at all. If you look on the right-hand panel, you'll see a subtle burgundy stripe. Now that is also tied into these valances that are over here on either side of the bookcase. So what I want to explain to you is I often, because I sort of pick neutrally kind of colors, but I don't want it to be boring. So let me give you an example. Here's a project that we did, and you're going to see here, there's like this fabric on the left, and it looks like a key, like a Greek key. I want you to know that that came on the roll, and it was repeated all over. So there's like 15 of those on a roll. We cut them to use them as banding. And then underneath that, you'll see extra large horizontal or vertical stripe in a taupe and cream. And then on top of that, you'll see that I found some brown grosgrain ribbon that I added to it. Now let me show you how I do this. If I can't find the fabric I want exactly, I make it. You don't have to get stuck with just what's out there. If you want to go custom, you can. Let's take a look at what this looks like on the window. Here you can see where I took the cream of the stripe and used that as the outside banding. And then, like I said, that repeated Greek key in the middle. We've got the brown that is of the ribbon. And then to the left, you'll see that stripe fabric that is put into the panels. So it's combining all these different fabrics to make this really unique and custom look. Now let me tell you this too. Most of my valances don't work. They're mock for the same reason. Because I don't want to go over to a client's house one day and find this window valance here, this one here, this one here, this one here, because that's exactly what it's going to look like. These valances are meant to be the exact height that I want them to be all the time, and they're stationary. And then the roller shades are up inside on every single one of these windows. Here's another case study of fabrics and pulling them together in colors. I was going to do a young girl's bedroom. I think she was six or 7 years old. And so I chose this repetitive lime green fabric with a white medallion on it. And then I had some other options to the left and right. What I ended up going with was the turquoise fabric and the lime green. And then I bought some white grosgrain ribbon and I created this. So this is a beautiful little valance over a young girl's bedroom. It made such a fun and colorful look for this room. And look at the hot pink pillows and the hot pink buckets below. Do you know why that is? Because in the room itself, there's this amazing melon color wall and hot pink and all these fun colors, as well as more window treatments in a very tropical floral print. So having the ones above the window and the desk be in the solid, but still have some design, made it fun and interesting. And here's another example of horizontal prints. So typically, most of the time I would say I do either solid fabrics or I do a print. My print is usually a stripe. I love horizontal stripes. And in this particular case, you'll see why. In this house, these clients had plantation shutters. And actually, I think we bought them the plantation shutters. But I knew that that plantation shutter was going to create this horizontal line effect, right? So by bringing the lines on the window treatments to the left and right of those shutters, it just kept that same geometric line and look going across the room, which made it a little more transitional. And just in case you're wondering what this room looked like before, often you have to work with something people already have. And as I'm sure you guys are going to have to do in your own homes. So these are really valuable little studies for you. In this one, the clients had bought a Persian rug. It was a large rug, and I think they spent a lot of money on it. They didn't want to get rid of it. So we did kind of a man's rowing club look for their family room. And I had to keep that rug. So what did I do? I found fabrics that I thought really coordinated well with the colors in the rug and the print. So you're going to see here the top and the largest piece of fabric sitting on here is sort of like a paisley, and it was a velvet, which was beautiful. But doing window treatments all in that would have been way too much. So I decided to use them on 2 windows as valances, and then on the large wall that had all the doors and the French doors and everything on it, we did panels that were just like this soft gold color. So you can see just that little bit of that paisley fabric and that print, it wasn't fighting with the rug, it actually connected and tied it beautifully. So let me just tell you, good window treatments, in my opinion, I would say more often than not, I go with very neutral window treatments. You have to learn when you want something to, crescendo and be amazing, and when you want something to just be kind of like a back player, a back seat. And I often want my window treatments to be a back seat, to frame the window and the view outside of it, but to be a complement to all the furniture, the fabrics, the pillows, the artwork, the rugs, the other things in the room that I feel should take center stage. So once I've assessed my window, now I go on to the next step, and that is, what fabrics am I going to use? What am I going to pull together? And I wanted to show you here the types of fabrics that you want to consider. So the first thing I do when I pick up a piece of fabric at the fabric store is I take it and I gather it in my hands to see how does it hang. Here's some fabric here that we're actually going to use in a man's bedroom. And this fabric here, I would take this and I would go like this and just pleat it in my hands and see, how does that hit? It's nice, isn't it? Because it's going to lay something like this, okay? I can show you this just for an example. Let's say I chose this fabric. No, that is not, I don't want it to look like a dirndl skirt. If you're going to order these things online, call first and ask for samples because colors are different in real life than they are on the screen. And if you can go into a store and take a look at things or just go to a fabric store, it's best to feel it and to see how's it going to hang. I'm going to show you some of my favorite window treatments as far as how they hang. And one of the things that's really important to think of is, especially if you're doing tie backs, you do a tie back when you have something you want to get it out of the way, or you want to soften the look, or you want to have a little decoration and it just looks too plain to do a single. Or I do it a lot of times if I have just one window treatment. For example, in my daughter's bedroom upstairs, which is not her bedroom anymore, but I only put window treatments on one side, so to swag it back to the side looked good. If I'd have just done a panel by itself, that would have just looked really weird. So there are different reasons why, and I think you can just feel it out. So let's take a look at this kitchen. Now, this kitchen, I absolutely love these window treatments. Every time I see this picture, it just makes me melt because I think it looks like butter. Now, here's an example of using the roller shades, by the way, in cream. And in this case, it was perfect for the look that I wanted for this room because it just kind of filled out this rounded window area, and they just drop and fall beautifully. Now, this fabric is actually a wool blend. It turns out I've used it a number of times now because I love how light infuses through it. A lot of times when you get light infusing through something, it's because it's sort of sheerish, right? Well, I don't want sheer because that looks cheap to me. So I wanted this to look luxurious, but that wool blend was just so yummy. The next one will show you that's the same fabric, it's a different color. We use this in a master bedroom, and you see how beautifully that ties back and lays nicely as a puddle as well. I love that window treatment. I think it's so pretty. In this house, in a guest bedroom, I used silk curtains. Just remember one thing though, if you're using silk, you absolutely must line it because sun will deteriorate it. And in my case, I don't have to worry so much about sun deterioration on my window treatments because I don't put them on the windows. For the most part, they're out of the way of the natural light. But if it's anywhere near that, make sure that you line your drapes. In this bedroom, now this is one of my favorite fabrics of all time. Okay, so I actually have some of this fabric here at my house, not in the white color, I have it in chocolate brown, but there's two pieces of velvet here, and I wanna see if you can see a difference. This is brown velvet, and this is brown velvet, okay? They're obviously different shades of brown, but they hang differently. They also cost differently. This one is from IKEA, which we use all the time. And this one is from Krabbit. Now let me show you what this is. It's called liquid velvet, and let me show you why. Look at, as I gather this, do you see how beautifully and softly that hangs and goes into its pleats? Because it's like stretchy. It stretches in all different areas. So if I was gonna do this and I wanted to do a swag, look how beautifully that swags. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but how pretty is that? It just hangs so nicely. So you can get an amazing look with this fabric. Then there's IKEA velvet. And sometimes this is the right thing to use and sometimes it's not. Usually it's the right thing if you're on a budget. So this, I can gather this together and I can still get a pretty cool look. I mean, you can tell there's a difference, right? In that silky, yummy, buttery feel, but it still works. Not only that, you can swag it. So that's just kind of an example of ways that the different types of fabric and how you would want to sort of play with it when you're looking at it in the store or at Pottery Barn or wherever you are, making sure that you get the right one for your needs. And you'll notice here that these are on top of plantation shutters. So now let's talk about how you would, so if I go back to my philosophy of how I do this and I lay it all out, the next step I would do after I picked my fabrics is decide how do I want to mount these and what do I want them to look like at the tops of the window treatments, right? Again, the PDF that I provided for you has more detail about different kinds of rods and finials and all that kind of stuff, and you can take a look at that. But here's the way I often do it. Let's take a look at some photos. Here in this craft room, you'll see that I did valances in the window seat, and they are flat valances and they are mounted to the top of that built-in, which was what we would call ceiling mounted. In this room, you can barely see the rod across the top. And this is, again, similar to that velvet that I showed you. I love this fabric too. It's actually netting. It's kind of what you would use for a bathing suit cover-up. You know what I'm talking about? What do they call that? There's a name for it. Sarong. Lycra. It's Lycra. Sarong. Cameraman says it's sarong. You are so wrong. And the rod just goes in that pocket and you just gather it on. Now, you don't want to use gathered rod pocket window treatments if you need to open and close them, because it's that same issue. It's very hard to scoot it on that rod, but if they're staying stationary, you can, and that's what we did here, and we just brought the fabric together in the center, tied it with a tassel, and let it go down. I think it was really cute application for a girl's room, especially with the canopies on either side. Back to this window treatment in the guest room with the silk windows, silk window treatments. What you can see here is we did a traditional rod with rings, and the rings come down and they attach to the pleats in the top with an S hook. So a hook that goes like this and down like this and up like this. So they go in the window treatment here, and then the other side comes out and it goes down into the hook there. And then they can move, although of course, like I told you, mine don't move. Here's another way I have, I kind of came up with this idea. I'm sure this is done other places too, but I haven't seen much of it, where we have, I just create any look I want, and then I have it mounted to a board. And it might be literally a 2x4 or a 2x1. My drapery installer always cuts the boards for me and makes them for me. But this window treatment is, had we not had crown molding there, we would have mounted these to the ceiling. But in this case, we're mounting it to the wall. So here's how it's mounted. We have an L hook, and the L hook goes like this and like this, right? It's shaped like this. So the L bracket, this is zip into the wall, and this right here is waiting for the window treatment to come in and slip right on top of it, and then they go zoop, zoop, right up into the top, done. Now, let me show you this window treatment because I actually loved it so much that I had some made for my husband's office. We're not using these anymore. We've changed, but I still have them. Let me show you. So take a look at these. Now, this is such a great thing for me to have here to show you because it's just like Drapery 101, very valuable. So here's how it goes. This is my piece of wood. It's a 1 by, I don't know, 3 maybe, and then it has a return. So when you're talking to window treatment people and you talk about a return, they say, well, what do you want your returns to be? You have to decide. This returns all the way back. So if I had wanted this to mount out further, let's say I had shutters underneath of it or something bulkier, I would have made this a 4-inch return, or we've done 6-inch returns sometimes. Just depends on if you need to. But this was a tight fit. So like I said, that L bracket went into the wall here, and then this was waiting, and this slid right on top of it, and then it from here they just zip those screws right up into this piece of wood. This has been lined, which is nice, but let me show you another thing. The style of this window treatment is what we call an inverted pleat, and I want you to see this because it's really cool. An inverted pleat is something that you would typically use when you have a print fabric like this. And the reason is you can decide where your print is going to go. So this was a geometric print fabric that was repeated over and over again, and I wanted it to have an interesting top to it. So look at how this works. Based on where I told them to pleat this and close it in, it created this really cool little design on the top, which just added to the window treatments in general. So great little thing. This is a perfect way to mount window treatments. You never have any rods showing. Very clean. It's actually very affordable because you don't have to buy rods. Okay? So that's probably my #1 most favorite way to do mounting. So I actually did a log home in Big Bear a few years ago, and I had to literally make the curtains myself while I was up there. So this is a very creative way to mount. And what I did was, it's just an odd window, right? It's 3 windows, one of them is a door, 2 are not, it turns the corner. I wanted to bring these up higher because the doors, this is actually a room you walk into and then you step up, which then made the doors over in the lower part look even lower, which is a problem for me. I don't like that. So I brought these window treatments up higher. I made sure that the fabric was very sheer because we didn't want to lose the view. We didn't want to lose that airy, open feel. But I took little boards just like this, like a 1 by, I think it was actually a 1 by 1, maybe. It looks pretty narrow. Let me see. Yeah, I think it was a 1 by 2. And I had the L brackets put in, we put those boards up, and then I took the window treatments and I sewed on some tape, and then I pulled it so that it would gather it simply along the thing. But here's how I mounted it. I staple gunned it to the front of that board, and then I went through and individually nailed nail heads across the top of there. They are like smashed penny nail heads. So it was really, really cool for a very, cabin-y kind of look. All right, so now that we've done that, we need to look at where those window treatments are going to hang. So my design philosophy is different than most designers, I think, and particularly with window treatments. I've already told you in the last session, in the last tool that you picked up, that I light my window treatments. Well, another thing I do is I actually reshape my walls with my windows and with my window treatments, okay? Let's take a look at this first photo. And this is a room. It's actually not a made-up room. This is one of our clients that we're currently working on right now. And this ceiling is a vaulted ceiling, and it comes down to about 11 feet high at the lowest point, but then it goes way high from there. It goes like to 20 feet from there. My first option is take a look at the window and assess it. Then I imagine to myself, okay, well, what if I put window treatments on typically, like most people would? You put them, you go right to the edge of the window on the top and on the sides. This is what it would look like. Well, let my imagination roll. And I asked myself, well, what if I took them up? Oh, well, now that's a difference, isn't it? Just taking those windows, I didn't even move them out. I just took them up. Just taking it up to that top part of the ceiling already makes that room look taller, doesn't it? Well, then what if I didn't go up, but I went out? Oh, yeah, out's good. It makes the room look wider, but it doesn't make it taller. So is that what I really want? How about this? I'd like it to go up and out. So this is what it would look like if I took that rod to the ceiling and I took my window treatments out to the sides. Now, typically, let me tell you, when I do this, I leave when I go with my window treatment guy, we measure about 2.5 inches into the window space, and from there, we measure out however far I want that panel to be. My typical panels are, 22 to 28 inches wide, sometimes wider depending on the need. And when you read the PDF that I gave you guys, it'll tell you how much fabric you need for the size of panels you want. So there's really valuable stuff on there. So now let's take a look and let's compare what the room looked like before without anything on it and what it looks like, that wall looks like with window treatments out to the sides and all the way to the ceiling.
I thought they were going to be not quite all the way up.
I know,
but I really
because you've never worked with me
really
before.
like them going all the way.
Of course you do, because they're fabulous.
It looks nice. Fantastic.
Now that we've established that. So just remember, the philosophy is dress your walls, not your windows. Anytime you put fabric into that window space, you're making your room feel smaller, your windows smaller, your view smaller, your light filtering less. You want that light to come in and you want to be able to see out. You still want privacy, but you want to be able to see out. So pull those window treatments out and take them up. So question, how high? Well, there is a limit. So if you have, I always, on a standard ceiling that's 8 feet here in America, always take them to 8 feet. If you have a 9-foot ceiling, always go to 9. 10, you can even do 10, you just have to deal with some stuff above it. Anything above 10 feet, you have to be careful because it gets really high and can get out of control. Now, this last one I showed you was 11 feet high, but I have something that I'm going to do to make it look fabulous, and you're gonna love it. So here's the thing. The only thing that you have to worry about when you take it high and you take it wide is what about that space above the window before it hits the rod? In this case, it's quite a bit of space. What are you going to put up there? Because just leaving that open for drywall and your window stopping here and your rod all the way up here, that just looks weird. So there are things you can do, and we're going to cover that in just a minute. Right now, we're going to talk about valances. So let's take a look at some of the valances that are the things that I have done in that weird space above the window where there's drywall still showing. Let me take you back to that living room where we used the geometric fabric that I just showed you. Do you see what we did on the drywall above that? We actually opened up the fabric. Grayson made a template of that design. He stenciled these, the geometric design on that, which actually happened to be repeated in the pillow, and it filled in that space because I looked at it and I went, that just looks weird. There's so much drywall. And I think that that did an amazing job in that location. Here's a guest bedroom where we did beautiful coral silk panels to the left and right. This is board mounted. Now, can you tell? Are you gonna be able to tell every time you see a picture now? When you don't see rods coming out to the sides, you're gonna know it's board mounted. This one's actually mounted to the ceiling. So how does that work? Same kind of thing, except that the L bracket is already on the thing right here. It's on the window treatment, it's attached. They put that right up to the ceiling, and then they zip right into the wall, and it's done. Very simple application and installation. Again, we had that strange space above there. We did a roller shade. I think it's actually a silhouette. No, it's a roller shade behind the bed, the same color as the wall, and it's mounted inside the window. So above the window, I used this antique mirror. I found an antique mirror at some, like, you know, I don't know, Matilda's Mouse or something, and we hung that up there. I was so excited when I found out that the size was just right, and it just kind of finished it off and made it feel good and special. Now, into this children's bedroom, these window treatment panels are great. They're all custom made with the striping at the bottom, using all different fabrics and getting the stripes exactly where I wanted. Just a side note, when you're going to do a stripe or a banding on your window treatments, don't do it up too high, keep it low. The higher you go, the less proportion you have. You don't want to cut your room off in the middle. You want this to feel like this so that you get that extra length of what we're trying to do. At the top, we used rods that were mounted to the wall, and these are on rings and just a double butterfly pleat. So they just hook right on there. And then across the center, that rod goes across, and what I did was I hot glued pennants on it. Yep, pennants. These I ordered online. They're football and baseball, went great with the theme of the room, added some color, and it was unexpected and fun and very inexpensive to do. And just in case you're wondering, what did this room look like before? That's what it looked like. Just saying. All right, here at the Desert Rose is window treatments to the left and the right. Above the window I had, honestly, the window stops at exactly where that upper valance ends. So imagine that window looking like this with all this drywall above it. So we filled that drywall in with, these are actually wood blinds. And then I got them with the tapes in it because I just thought that added element of stripe would be interesting, and the color of the tape matches the color of the window treatments perfectly. I also banded the very top of the window treatments in chocolate brown, and why did I do that? For this reason. I knew that I was going to have the roller shade up there with the casement. And so that was, you know, that's 4 inches. There's nothing I can do about it, or whatever size it was. So I thought if I brought a dark brown band across the top of the panels, that shade casement would run right into the band on either side, and it would almost just look like a rod. And it really does. It took care of that issue perfectly for us. And these are mounted to a board. I threw this in here because I wanted you to see, remember when I was talking about how sometimes we use this as a valance, where we do the overroll? There's a name for it. I think it's called overroll. There's a something for it, but just tell them. Have them watch this video. All right, so this overroll here, this now becomes your valance. So on this window treatment that you're looking at in the picture here, that beautiful wool, kind of a wool blend curtains that go down on either side. In the center, we wanted to have the privacy so we could roll that shade down. But when it's rolled up, it doesn't go into anything. It just stays there as a valance. So it kind of does both. All right. Now, I just wanted to show you, obviously, you can do a typical and an average valance made out of fabric. That's, you know, a cornice box. Cornice boxes I'm not really fond of because I think they look too, I don't know, uptight. And they're usually like padded and stuff and very old fashioned, and I don't like them. They have the little shapes in them and stuff. But this is actually what we call a lambrequin. And I do a lambrequin because it's flat fabric. It's not like a Roman shade that's kind of, you know, pleated up. It doesn't have anything going on. It's literally flat. I use my extra fabrics to band it on the sides. But I use this principle, especially when it's going to look good in the room, but especially when I'm using expensive fabric. So the fabric that was in the center of this was a couple $100 a yard. So if I just got, you know, half a yard per window, it was a lot less expensive than if I got something that if I wanted to pleat this whole thing and then all that fabric's just wasted. And by the way, that's one of the reasons that we don't do workable drapery, at least I don't as a designer, because the amount of fabric you need to buy is ginormous. I mean, I can do panels on either side of a window with like, I don't know, sometimes 12 yards, but if I'm doing workable drapes, that's like 30 yards. Imagine the cost of fabric versus just getting some shades and keeping them stationary. So that's another big reason for it. All right, here I wanted to show you, these are those horizontal pleat, and these are actually goblet pleats. So if you look closely at how these are pleated on the top, they are mounted and they have a return that goes back in. And what do they return to? They return to that wood molded paneling that's above the French doors here. Remember when I started this whole thing off with the living room that had the transom looking thing above it? This is the dining room to the same home. Again, imagine if these window treatments were dropped to the height of the doors you see here. It would just change the whole feel of the room completely. It would look like, right? No, these look grand and incredible. And it's just because I know how to do these little tricks that kind of trick the eye. So to answer the question on the project that we're working on now, what I decided to do is, take a look here, the before picture with nothing, the after. I am using the same kind of an idea by adding white painted wood paneling above that window, which will actually look like it's part of the casement that the window is around. That will fill in the drywall above the window, and it will look complete and absolutely beautiful. And it goes really well with some of the other paneling that we're doing in the house. So why don't we get a little bit creative? I've shown you window treatment panels that are made out of fabrics, and you would expect that, right? They're window treatments. But there's other things you can do to windows that don't fall into the same box. And that's what I like to do. I think it just makes it so much more fun. So I want to kind of stimulate your taste buds and get you thinking, what can I do? And I also want you to look at things from a different perspective from now on. When you look at something, think, okay, that may be a this, but what else could I use it for? And let me show you. In this kids' playroom, it was a problem for me because it only had 2 windows, and you know how I love symmetry, and I just felt like it was so off. Well, actually, I wanted to put in a 3rd window, but it would cost so much money. So here's what we did. I found a piece of art online that I really liked. I had my framer do a frame that matched the casement on the window, and then Grayson we actually bought white roller shades, plastic, actually they weren't plastic, I think they were fabric roller shades, and he took that print, that the geometric shape, and he transferred it to these other 2 roller shades so that they could be rolled up as window treatments, but they could be rolled down and it would look like 3 pieces of art. And this is how that turned out. Because you would never know that the 2 on the right are workable and the 1 on the left is not. Here's another material that you can use, and you can use it easily. It's really fun. We actually use this in the underground bunker, but it's that ball chain. I love ball chain window treatments, and it's great to light them. You see them in commercial applications a lot, but do not forget about that as a possibility, especially in something that's shaped weird, or if you want a really contemporary or modern look. In this picture, this is an iron screen that I designed, and we put into the windows in the master bedroom to the left and the right of the bed. And you can tell by me standing there just to get a perspective of how large these are. But often something like a piece of wood that's carved, or a piece of iron that might fit, or have something made that'll fit your window, it's a great thing. And we always have ours on hinges so you can open them and still clean the windows. And this is how it actually looked in the bedroom once everything was installed. But a very creative and unusual, unexpected window treatment of sorts. We did it again downstairs in the family room by doing 3 oval shapes geometrically and placing them in windows. Now you can see over that, see how it has kind of that smoky looking what that is? That is the roller screen, one of these, that's placed over that. And then the lamp sitting in front of it just created also actually art. I love this picture. I think this is at least 15 years old. This was when I did that log home, and in their little kitchen nook, they already had this, log type furniture and stuff. It was very, very themey. But I needed to make some window treatments. So I literally made window treatments and I stuck them up on the logs. I stapled them in, and then I made it look as though the rods that they were hanging from were branches. So I got artificial branches and artificial leaves and sticks, and I made branches out of it. So it was very fun to do something that's kind of themey in the right location. And as you can tell looking out this window, this was the right location. Those rods did not stop you from looking out at that view. And another really creative idea is to take what I did here in this living room. I wanted some geometric shapes inside the windows. And so I was at a store and I found this room divider screen. It had 3 panels. So I bought it, took the hinges off and hung them in the windows, and they fit like a glove. And I think that added so much to this geometric, fun living room style, very modern, very transitional. And just so you know, this is what that living room looked like when I got there. Window treatments can make a difference. And in case you're wondering, yeah, I did use the 3rd panel in Scott's apartment, one of them. We hung it above the bed, and it made a fun little geometric shape with some candles above that. Hey, you gotta not let good stuff go. Use it where you can. One last thing, if you are looking to do something like this, a valance or something creative where you're using materials you never thought of that are cheap, look at this kid's bedroom. These window treatments above here, wood blinds with the tapes on it. But you know what that is above there? You know what that valance is made out of? Placemats from Target. And that's what that room looked like before. So for those of you who have challenging windows, they're odd shaped or whatever, I picked 2 types of windows that I've had people ask questions about specifically. One is when you have that double floor and you have windows here and you just don't know where you should put your window treatments, because if you put them on the lower ones, it looks too low. If you put them on the high ones, it looks ridiculous. And everyone puts them on the lower ones, and then a few put them on the higher, and that just doesn't work. So let me show you a house that we did that I really think worked great. This is a family room, and when we got there, it had those double windows. Well, first off, we put in, for privacy, roller shades that we could put on a motorized system so we could lower them, especially the upper ones, which you can never do because so much light comes in there in Southern California. So you take a look at this, and what I decided was, okay, imagine window treatments at those lower windows. You know Rebecca's not going to do that, right? Where would I put them? I almost wanted them to be in the middle, between the 2 windows in that drywall. But then I was going to have all that drywall. So I came up with an idea. What if I have iron pieces made to fit up on the wall above it, kind of like that transom idea that has a beautiful design in it. And then in that piece of iron, I can actually create like this little box that my roller shade can go up into. So clever. And that's what we did. And then the next day we had the panels installed, and that's what it looks like. Didn't that make a big difference? And again, over on the other side in the kitchen, we brought those window treatments up. But imagine again, these window treatments going down. But don't those iron pieces across the top look nice? And it really made the upper windows look beautiful as well. Now, here is another window idea that people ask me about. What do I do if I have a rounded window? That is so hard because I don't like those like shades that look like a fan, which is what a lot of people do. It's just so, or they take their fabric on a rounded rod and they bring it all together to center in a rosette. If you have one of those, how about if I help you get rid of it? So here's what I did in my daughter's dorm room. It's very inexpensive. It's totally done on a budget. So Cher had all this apple green bedding that I had just bought from Bloomingdale's, and her walls were army green. So when I was at Home Goods, I came across a shower curtain that was black, white, lime, apple green, and army green. I mean, what are the chances? Trust me, that is not a color combination you come across very often. Well, we did. So I bought them. Of course, they were limited. I used the screens, the shower curtains. I cut them in half. I had 2 different ones. Cut them in half. I ran them on the rods with grommets. So here's another topper for window treatments, which you're going to see here too. If the cameraman will go up to my window treatments, mine are actually on grommets, which means they're round doodahs, and they weave in and out, and the pole just goes right through those holes. So what I did was I put IKEA white panels in the center, the shower curtains on the left and right on each side, and then for the round window on the top, I bought at Home Goods a starburst mirror And I cut all of the stars, not stars, all the bursts off the bottom. All those rays, I cut them and stuck it up in the window. And now it looks like this, like, you know, starburst, sunburst kind of thing. And it was like still created some diffusion, but still let the light in. And it was really creative and fun. So I hope you get inspired by things like that. Just look at things not for what they are, but what they could be. And let's take a look at this next picture. This is of my son's apartment where I actually use that reeded grass, right, in the window, and that shows you a better version of that. Something that we could do, we use panels, but then this odd little window over here, putting those in there was like brilliant. Turned out great. All right, here's another thing you can do that's really thinking out of the box, and this is doing it on a budget, very inexpensive. What do? This is a problem window, challenging window. Look at how low that is. That's like almost in the center of the room. It's a double high ceiling, but these windows are like, they drop, I don't know, 5 feet, 4 feet maybe. It's a lot. And if you're gonna put window treatments here, if you put them here, look, you can see through to the dining room at the top. So that would have been weird. And she didn't really have money. She had $500 to spend, and we did it in one day. $500 total. So instead of getting window treatment panels and rods and all that kind of stuff, we improvised and we created a window treatment of sorts. It's not really a window treatment. It's actually just kind of fakes you out and makes you not need window treatments anymore by adding artwork to the top of the windows. That kind of gave me that sense of a valance. And then on either side, trees, green trees, filled in that space, gave us the color, gave us a little bit of warmth without pulling us down with a lot of heavy window treatments. And it really kind of brought the upper dining room area and the living room, sort of balanced them out together. Very inexpensive and a fun thing to do. Let me talk to you about rods. One of the things about rods that I personally think that the biggest mistake I see people do, well, there's a lot of mistakes I see people do with window treatments. And in the PDF, I go over a lot of this, but I just want to make sure that I verbally cover this. People's window treatments are too short. They don't go to the floor. Make sure your window treatments go to the floor. In fact, make sure they touch the floor, because once they touch, you can spread them out and they can have a graceful ending rather than like this. Let them touch the floor. Even if you keep your window treatments where they are, make them touch the floor. Another big, huge pet peeve of mine is something I really want to encourage you to do is get the right rods for your window treatments. I have seen more puny, whimsy, flimsy, wimpy, I mean, just like window treatment rods. Don't do that. Make sure that you get ones that are substantial, that have some girth to them, some even 2-inch rods. Bed Bath & Beyond has them. I probably would not buy rods from IKEA anymore. Their stuff just is, you know, it's like an expanding rod, and then you get it expanded. Even though it says you can go that length, it starts to go like this in the center. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then when you have rods like that, the brackets that are supposed to hold the rods are so wimpy. They look terrible. So that gives you away. You can deal, like seriously. These curtains, I have these all over my house right now because I went to white, and I didn't want to spend the money on custom. Bed Bath & Beyond, I think they were $39 a panel. There's 2 panels here. They're on the doodles, and I already had the rod. So literally, this is a $70 window treatment. Most people would not think that I would have a $70 window treatment. I do, but you know what else I have? I have several $100s in hardware on my rods and my brackets and my finials. The finials are from Restoration Hardware. You can get, not these rods, these are actually custom made for me, but you can get good rods from Pottery Barn has some, but definitely Restoration Hardware is a great place to buy online rods. Buy them there. It'll take your window treatments that you have now and make them look very custom and very luxurious. They'll look incredible. So do those few things, the lengths, the rods, and not only is it gonna look good, but it's gonna function much better. So we're gonna end off this session today with one last category, and that is how about you? And some of my viewers had sent me some pictures, so let's take a look at these. This is from Katerina Vidaki, and she says she has a radiator above her door in her bedroom. I think it's her bedroom. And so she wanted to know, what do I do when I can't take my rods? Now, let me just say, get yourself bigger, better, more beefy rods, definitely. All right. This AC is in the way, definitely, but there's a couple things I'd say. It looks like she has a mirror to the right of her windows. And I like that. I think that it expands that sense that it's a bigger window than you think. Katerina, if you got another mirror just like it and put it on the opposite side, it would look amazing. It would make it look like you have a nice big set of windows or doors. I'm not sure which it is. But as far as your rod, this rod is what I was talking about. It's way too skinny. You need to get a beefier rod. But how about this? Why don't you pull that rod forward? Because it looks like you have a pop out of drywall or wall here. Looks like it comes out like this and goes like this. Pull that rod out and in front of your AC unit. I think you can do that. Your window treatments are so sheer that AC is going to come through anyway. Take that all the way to the ceiling and it'll look great. All right, the next person who sent me a photo, for Bara Dejar Majakova, I hope I said that right. I have, looks like your bedroom, and you have some window treatment panels that looks like they're on grommets, and you have rods, and maybe these are tension rods, I'm not sure. I would highly recommend you get away from tension rods because they don't hold very long. They'll just fall down all of a sudden. You won't have any window treatments. But here's what I would recommend on this. I think that your window treatments are too close together. So again, very similar to what I just told the last person, pull your rod out and go over further to the wall so that you can get a wider feel in that room. Just because your window is in this little thing doesn't mean you have to stay there. Pull it out. I mean, literally, you're right on the edge. You could do that so easily and it would look great. And it would also avoid your radiator that's here on the floor. I also feel like this is, looks like they're silk. They're probably a polyester blend. These are not hanging right. They're going like this. Here, they're going like this. And they're hitting and they're billowing out like that rather than laying nicely like that. So I would, if you can afford to, and replace these, I would get new ones that are not so bulky looking, something that hangs down nice. I'm not saying go sheer, I'm just saying not as bulky as this look. And I might try to do something that's not on a grommet, because it looks to me like you're opening and closing these, I'm guessing. And if you are, you probably are because that's all you have for privacy, they're just never gonna look good. So get something for privacy in the window, take your rods out, maybe try these, but get them, take your hand and move those pleats in and out and smoothly like I have here. See how these hang nicely? Bed Bath & Beyond, they're the bomb diggity. You should get some. Okay, and then the last person is Joanna Shefford, and she has this interesting little window on her way up to her staircase, up to her upstairs area. And I thought, oh gosh, those kinds of windows are hard because they're just random. They're just like there, right? It's so odd. So here's what I was thinking as I looked at this. Number one, I like, you've got these little art pieces that are going up the hallway, up the stairs, and they're wrapped, they're framed in black. And I was thinking maybe if you did a black frame around the window itself to kind of mimic that same look, it would look like it's another piece of art. Take the mini blinds out and put something in the window that's sculptural. Maybe it's a piece of, it's a base like this and it comes up and whips around. Or maybe it is a horsetail. Maybe it is something that is sculptural so that you get the interest of the silhouette that's created when light comes from behind something. We have to really remember our windows can be used to our favor or they can be used against us. If you need privacy in that window, I would probably put in a roller shade that rolls actually to the back side. I wouldn't do the front roll, I would do the back roll, so that you can pull that down at night or when you need the privacy, but in the daytime it's up. Anyway, I would make that into something a little bit more artsy and have it kind of flow up the staircase with the rest of your stuff. Definitely not fabric. That would not work there. All right, well, I hope that's helpful. Are you guys ready to get on with our question and answers? Okay, we're gonna go live here so that you guys can pull on in and ask me your questions, and I'm happy to take them, and I'm really excited to get this going. Hey guys, how did you like this session today? I hope you liked it. It was kind of a trial for us, and I think it went really well. We actually filmed what you just saw, all the content of this video earlier, so that we could make sure that it would live stream smoothly and we wouldn't have all these technical issues. So I hope that worked well for you. Now for the last 30 minutes, we're going to go through some live Q&A. And I have a few things here. We've got some comments on Twitter that came in during the session, as well as some photos that people have sent during the session too. So I first want to say hello and a shout out to Denise and Barb from Cape Coral, Florida. You guys tweeted in and you said it's your first design session and we want to welcome you. I know that there's hundreds of people that are new this month and we don't know who you are, but we want to welcome you as well. I hope you enjoy the design sessions. This is just one of the tools that you can have to put in your toolbox to create the home of your dreams. So I love the topic of window treatments and I hope this has been helpful for you. All right, I also want to talk about Peach. She sent in a question and it was kind of related to the last thing that I just gave you as an example of if you're going to go wide on your window treatments and you need rods, where do you find these really wide rods, or how do you get one made? Well, the way you get one made is you contact someone who does iron welding. I have a guy, Luis, and he does my custom rods. But also there are places you can find them really long online, and they're usually, they call them telescoping rods, so they get longer and wider. I just bought some this week for a client of mine, and I think we got one rod that's actually 12 feet wide, which is pretty long. I don't think, it was from Restoration Hardware. I don't think they go any wider than that, but if you need really wide rods, so here's an example. Let's say you've got 24 feet or something and there's no way you're gonna get a rod that long. In that case, I would probably do two separate rods, one on one side of the window and one on the other side, just for the panel itself, and then you would not have the rod going in between. You might need to put something above there in that drywall section or whatever your walls are made out of, but that is one way to address the fact that if you can't get them quite that wide. So, guys, you have some Twitter things that you wanted to share real quick?
Yeah, so we have Amateur Decorating says she's watching the session with a great cup of coffee and it's a fabulous design session with Rebecca. Life is good.
That's great. Thank you. What a nice compliment. That's so sweet. And her name is Design?
It says Amateur Decorating is her Twitter name.
Amateur Decorating. Great name. I could have been called that for many years because I started off on my own.
Steph MP says she's ready to watch and she's watching it live from New Mexico.
Awesome. Hi, Steph MP. All right, now I'm going to go to a couple of the things that people have been sending in the way of photos. This one is, now I have to apologize, I only have a black and white printer here at my house. So these are in black and white, but I think my cameraman can also zoom in. Are you able to get that, Matthew? This is Camera Guy, guys. You hear me talk about him all the time, right? All right, so this is what this looks like. This is a black and white photo, and this is from Andrea Nelson, and she asked the question, should I use blue curtains in my kitchen? So as you can see in this picture, she has white window treatments that she's put on the walls, good job, and she's raised them a little higher above the window, great job, and she wants to know if she should change the color to blue in her kitchen. I would say typically, if this was my house, I would either do all blue or all white. But when you have a room that's connected and you can see them at the same time, I think it's a little disjointed in your design element if you change colors. I think the all white looks amazing, very Pinteresty. So keeping it in white in the kitchen's fine. The blue does add a punch of color. So if you want to, then I would change out the ones in your living room as well. Okay, I hope that helps. The next person asked, this is from Debbie Towson, and her, let's see, let me get out of here and go to Debbie Towson. She's got, whoops, wrong one. She's got a really, really great looking room. Am I doing that wrong, guys? I want to turn that sideways. All right, these are beautiful windows, Debbie. She has these tall windows, and I actually don't know what her question was. Can you find that for me, Jason? Debbie Towson's question. But here's what I would do in this location. It's very close to the fireplace, which is a little problematic, but I would take my window treatments up, and I would create panels that go to the floor. And you have to go into the window more than you normally would in what I just explained in the design session, because if you don't, these panels are going to be so skinny, it's going to look weird. So look at how much. I'm going to take half of that little side window, and then I'm going to use that on this one to tell me where that same panel should go. Because here's one of the little tricks, guys. If you have to cheat it on one side, but you don't cheat it on the other, the window shapes, what I'm talking about are these little squares up here, they're going to kind of give it away for you. So if you really want to kind of cheat it and trick the eye, you got to make sure that you pay attention to where these come together in the center. And these can puddle on the floor like that, just slight puddle. Now, you could do ones in the center, but I don't think I would. Here's what I would do if this was my house. I would hang these panels like this and do a rod that goes across, probably with a finial on one end, not on the other. You might go around the corner and do the same over here, or perhaps balances. It's hard for me to see where that room goes, but in here for sure, this thing. Now, the other thing I would do is I would probably hang 2 pieces of art right on those posts, and I think stuff like that is really architectural and interesting. I think this room could carry that off. They're framed pictures of something. Maybe they have like a little cording or something that goes up to a round post that are hung on that. Can you see that? So that would be my suggestion for this room for Debbie Towson. All right, any other comments, guys?
Yes, so Ariana Valencia says, would you ever place a set of sheer drapes behind the main drapes?
Yes, that's a common thing to do when you want to have privacy. It's not my first choice. Typically, like I said, I like to use the silhouettes or the woven woods or the roller shades. It's just a more updated and clean look. A lot of times when you have drapes in the front and then you have sheers in the back, that's a lot of fabric. And it can just get kind of bulky and messy looking. So if you want to update your look, go with one of the shade treatments that I suggested. If not, keep the sheers in. I mean, it works, right? It's just a little, it's just not as clean looking, okay? All right, the next person who sent in a question was Ellen Cardinal. Let's see if I have her picture. Nope, I have Ellen Cardinal. This is what her home looks like, and she does have a dilemma with what she can do here. First off, her window goes absolutely right up to the edge of that fireplace, which makes that really tough. The hard part for me as a designer is I only have one view of this room and I don't have anything beyond that. So I don't know what's going on over here, so I'm going to assume it's perfection. And I don't have to deal with anything weird. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take these window treatments up a little bit higher, not a lot, because this is a really tall room and this is actually a high window already. But this is what's problematic, and that is the niche above her fireplace. So look at this. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice beyond window treatments, okay? I'm going to say get yourself a piece of art that's actually bigger than your niche and cover your niche. This could be hung on the wall or it could be set on the mantle. I would kind of clear off a lot of the accessories on the mantle too, so it doesn't look too busy. And look at that, even just the look of that frame that's on the inside there, that now takes care of the problem. She had to put a very tiny piece of art in that location because of that niche being predetermined. Now we've made it bigger. So over here, I'm going to bring not the same height, I'm going to go up a little higher, and I'm going to bring a window treatment, and I'm going to take up half of this window space. Do you see how it's broken up in 3 pieces? I'm going to take half of that. So I come down here with the window treatment. It's up a little higher over there, and it will tuck back behind the corner of that fireplace. Might have a return on it. Okay, and then there's going to be a rod. I don't have a ruler here, so excuse my chicken scratches. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to go halfway into that window. So you know what, guys? This is really valuable information that you guys can use, and things I hadn't even thought of, including in the design session, because I wasn't faced with a dilemma. But the point of this is make sure that wherever you place your panels, you have the even distance out from any of these dividing lines that tell what you're doing. Does that make sense? Let's say I cheated it over here, but this one I put all the way on the edge. I'd have half a window here and a full one there, and that just would not look balanced and symmetrical. Okay? And you can put a finial on that end, or you can just put a cap on it and make it clean, and of course no finial on that end. Now, that gives you your look. The other thing that you could do if you wanted to is you could put a valance of maybe woven woods or a soft fabric that comes across there, so that when you raise, and it comes into the window a little bit, when you raise these blinds all the way up, they tuck underneath of that and you don't even know they're there, and that takes care of your issue of the drywall above. And look at how nice it looks. All of a sudden, I just made her room look so much taller and so much bigger. I hope that helps you, Ellen Cardinal. Okay, now I'm going to go on to Diamond Valley Cottage. This is an interesting one to me because these windows are spectacular. Let's see here. I have it right here. Can you see these windows? I mean, hello, would we all not love to live in a house like that? And of course, it's double height, completely open ceiling, and it looks like there's a staircase and an upper railing around this. So unlike if this picture is taken from a down view, if I could be down here and see it, I would probably have a different perspective. Here's the problem. These curtains do look very short given the height of this room. But what do? I mean, where in the world? It's all so different. So given this situation, if this was my house, I would do one of two things. I'd either keep what you've done because it is an obvious, it's an obvious location. But if you want to try something different and kind of step it up a notch, if you want to make these windows be absolutely the focal point of the room, not that they aren't already, they're pretty spectacular. But here's a thought. What if you did a window treatment here at the height of this window here, and you brought it here, and you brought this panel down, okay? And you cover up that drywall a little bit. You cover it up on this side too, and that goes down. See how high that is? Now, on this one, let's say, this is weird. I mean, it's definitely a different idea, but I'm just kind of playing around here. This is how I come up with my ideas. I draw it, I visualize it, and I play with it until I get what I really like. And if I look at it and go, that's just crazy, then I don't do it. So here we go across here. So do you see what I'm doing? Basically, I'm taking my cue from the fact that the window heights graduate from lower to higher, and I'm actually using my window treatments in a similar fashion. This one would be here, or actually you could go without any window treatments here. That's what I would do. Haha. I would not do any window treatments here. I'd take them off, and I would make this wall, ta-da! And then up here, I would do another panel right about this height, just before that arch really gets going, and I'd bring this down like this. That's pretty clever, huh? If I do say so myself. All right. Are we getting any feedback? Do people like these ideas?
Yeah, people love them. We actually have a couple other questions coming in. Denise says you're the bomb.
Bomb diggity, man. Thank you.
Peach, who is Tish from LA, says another amazing session.
Thank you, Tish. Hi, Tish. You're Peach? I didn't realize that was your name.
Don Thomas says I was a little late getting to the design sessions, but it was great. So easy to get to and watch today.
Thank you. I know it's really making a difference, and I honestly think that the fact that I'm pre-recording the content part, I can do it without being nervous about, oh, we're live and this is happening, and down to we're T-3, we're T-2, and it's just like, okay, hi, So this kind of, I can just sit there and do what I do when I make my YouTube videos and just talk to the camera like it's my sister on the other side of the lens. Okay, I know it's not my sister, it's Tish and everybody. Yay. All right, so I like that. What do you think of that, you guys? Forget that I did this one here. I think that's really impressive. And I would do no window treatments here. If you need privacy, which you probably don't. I mean, these probably work. If you need privacy, put shades in there. Other than that, leave these as windows and just address that. Did you guys see that? That's pretty clever, huh? Oh, I like it. Okay, well, I'm impressed with myself. Okay, this is Melissa Morusi? Morehouse. Oh, Melissa Morehouse. Okay, Melissa, let's see. I have not looked at this one before. It came in right at the end of the session. I like your what are those? Plantation shutters. And obviously you don't have anything up there. So I might, gosh. Melissa, I think you have done all that you need to do. I don't think there's anything I can do to improve upon this, and let me tell you why. I'm sitting here imagining putting panels and fabric. The problem is the center section, you've got that issue of it being right next to your fireplace again. So because of the shape of your windows, if we were to do this, we would have to cheat, because here's the deal. I can't even get it up next to your fireplace because your mantle goes out like that and would push the curtains out. So I'd have to start it right on that edge. And that kind of messes with, usually it's the drywall you want to address. And the middle pieces of drywall here that I would, oops, I got to go, I don't have that one on my computer. Sorry, I don't have a color photo of it. It's very nice, it's lovely. Normally I would want to do it here on this section in between and run those panels down. But like I said, it's going to hit that. So that being your issue, I think doing the plantation shutters is really a wise choice. And the casements around it and stuff looks very nice with your white mantle. And you have a TV above there. I'm not going to mess with that because I know your husband's probably connected to it. So I think you've done a great job. I think you should stick with this. Yay, you get a gold star, Melissa.
So Nell wants to know, how do you know how many folds to have in your curtains? So how wide do you buy curtains?
Oh, that's a really good question. So if I'm having them made, which is what I normally do, they are, you've got out of one piece of fabric, which is typically 54 inches wide, aren't they usually 54 to 60 inches wide for a piece of fabric? I can usually do a single width for about 18 to 20 inches. If I'm going to go to 20, 25, 30, I need to add not a whole nother panel because it gets really bulky. I'll do a width and a half. So the rule of thumb is 2.5 times width for a window treatment. If you want it to be very full, you can do 3.5 times. But 2.5 times is kind of a standard within the industry. Hope that helps.
So we have Kimberly and Katarina that want to know, how do you clean your window treatments, especially the ones that are on panels? The board, like when something is attached, affixed?
Board mounted one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's a good question. You can still have it taken down and sent to a cleaners. I think they can do it even if it's mounted to a board. If it's a cornice box, my best advice is to burn it and start all over again. No, just kidding. I'm sure there's some nice cornice boxes out there somewhere. I just haven't really run into very many. I don't like them. I know that they're really tailored and everything else, but they're like usually this like wimpy thing. And then if they're really big, then they're even worse. And then they're like upholstered and padded, and they just look so, you know what I mean? I'm not a fan. But if it's like something that, in other words, has a board attached to it and you can't take that off without undoing the whole thing, like unmaking it, I would say probably just send it to a dry cleaners. Now, I have experience with this because just this week I took down, and this is actually hilarious, because actually a good segue into the next design session, which is going to be on spring cleaning. Yeah, so I'm excited about it because I don't know that I've ever done specifically spring cleaning, but I do have this itch and desire to organize and to declutter and to, just organize everything in my house right now. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my youngest daughter got married, and now I feel like, okay, empty nest, and I need to do this. But I took down my window treatments in my bedroom. And can I just tell you, so you ready? I would like you to tweet and tell me, when was the last time I had my window treatments in my bedroom dry cleaned? Stop the video now and I'll wait for an answer. Has anyone answered? We have a time delay. Okay, let me tell you. The answer is never. How embarrassing. I've had these window treatments for 15 years and I've never had them cleaned. I didn't know they were dirty. Dusty maybe, but not dirty. Well, I got up on a ladder to take them down. and it was so disgusting. I actually had cameramen come up. I said, you got to get a shot of this. This is like, there are things living up here. There are family. Anyway, I won't go there, but it was bad. So I highly recommend that, especially with spraying around the corner. You take your window treatments down and have them cleaned. It's not an inexpensive thing to do, but it does feel good. I have them back up now and they look fabulous. Okay, I have another one that I have a photo on that I can show you. Oh, let's see, that one is the one we already saw. All right, so this one is actually one that I did for someone on Facebook, and I thought I would share it with you if we had time. Just remember, for the design sessions, if you can get things to me in advance, like so during the time that this was being filmed, I was actually reading Twitter comments. We were printing up these photos. I'm sitting there going, okay, this is the name of the person who sent this. This is what I'm going to do. It's really last minute. So if you can give me a little bit more advance notice, like send things to us earlier, you can do that. Can they do that through the design sessions?
Live? Yeah, they can send it on anytime on Twitter, anytime that they want to
Anytime on Twitter, but
participate.
what about the design sessions website? No? Not website, but email.
They could send us an email too.
Yeah, we have a designsessions.com. No.
Design sessions at robisondesign.com. But the best way would be just for them to use Design Sessions Live hashtag on Twitter and post their pictures. They can post them at any time before the session, and then we can start.
It's just a lot of people don't have Twitter. Could they do it on Instagram?
Yeah.
I'm getting mixed reviews back here. Okay. All right, so get them to me somehow, and I'll see if I can fit them in, because we'll have this 30 minutes of Q&A, and I can actually address your issues. So this is for Laura Stenton, and she had sent in these pictures, and I thought this was really great. I only have them in black and white, but she said, what do I do? Oh, here we go. What do I do with this window? It's like got an alcove here, and there's a radiator in the center, and a lot of people who live outside the U.S. have issues with their radiators. And then it has these little side windows, and they just kind of run into the back wall. There's not even like a reveal there. So she wanted to know what she could do there. So I gave her two different options. This is a close-up photo, so you can see that little side window as well. So I sent her a couple of options. Option A, and can you see this very well on your camera? Was to do panels on either side of the window, cheating in a little bit, because she's very limited on her outside space. I mean, clearly, I'm telling you to do these, go right to the edge. Well, you can't do that here because it would be a 6-inch panel, which would look really stupid. So you want to go in a little bit and bring the panel down, go to the floor, and then she could do a valance across the top made out of fabric or woven woods, or even just the roller shade, which is like like I showed you on the video, an over thing, so you don't see that metal container that it's housed in if it rolls over. So I thought that would be one thing. And then in the side windows here, my suggestion was that she do what I did for my son's place, where I put that horsetail in the little metal boxes. So she's got window treatments here, and then on the side she can create a visual separation if she needs it for privacy by having all that horsetail go like this, but it's not more fabric. So you got to think outside the box, and there's so many creative elements and materials you can use. She could put a piece of iron in there if she wanted to. She could put anything in there if she wants to, but I would take, if she's going to do something like the horsetail, I would take those shutters out, the little, what are they, wood blinds, would take those out. My second option was option B, and I kind of like this option for a couple of reasons. One is it actually would make the room look bigger, because when you take those panels within inside that little alcove, you are defining your space. You're saying, here's my wall, it's got drywall out here, and then here's this little alcove, and you're making your window look smaller. But if she actually pulled those window treatments out, like I did here, and put them on the drywall, look at this, see here, she has this space here. These would be ceiling mounted on the drywall. This side would come in a little bit more than this side because this is a wider piece. And, okay, sorry. This side would come this way. All right. They're doing hand signals. They should just talk. Use your words. Okay, thank you. And hang those panels right here and here. What you do is you created an alcove, but you've also It's like a neat little place. It could be a desk in there. It could be a little sitting area. And then she could keep the blinds that she has if she wants to. Or she could put in roller shades that come to the ceiling and go down and cover not only the window, but beyond that as well. So I thought this was a neat thing because it actually, I thought, made the room look wider and gave it some warmth. So it was another option. I'm not sure which one she used. I hope she got these. But if you're watching, Laura, that was my suggestion for your place. Okay.
So Roxana wants to know, would you ever use curtains with plantation shutters?
Yes. In fact, I think I showed. Yes, you remember in the design session, there was that one close-up of a silver tripod lamp and an orchid and a sofa, and then it had plantation shutters, and then I used window treatment panels on either side that had the ribbons that went in a horizontal stripe. And I said the reason I liked it was because those stripes were reminiscent of the stripes of a plantation shutter. So if you've joined us late and you haven't seen that, you can go back and watch it. But that is a perfect example. And yes, I would definitely use panels with plantation shutters. Just have to do it right. You have to be careful how high you go above the shutters because all of that drywall space may make it look weird. So you might want to do like white wood paneling above there to extend. It's hard to explain. We have this project. In fact, I showed you in the design session, now that I think about it, the one that was like a case study, right? Doreen, that's in the video, right? Where I show our client's project, and I said if you do your window treatments in, and you pull them out, or you go up, and then I did the white wood paneling across the top. That paneling is in, and I saw it yesterday for the first time. Amazing. Amazing. All of a sudden, these windows don't look like they're all short and dumpy. They look huge and grand. It's amazing. And our client, we're in construction right now, and the client's like, oh my gosh, best thing ever. And I'm like, oh honey, if you like that, you need to hold on to your
We ain't
britches.
seen nothing yet.
Your socks are about to be blown to smithereens. So, how are we doing on time?
We've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going
Good.
to take one more Twitter question and then
Okay.
I'll let you wrap. So Don Thomas says, sliding glass doors, what can you use instead of vertical blinds?
Vertical blinds? You're talking about, yes. You mean to close? Is that what you're talking about? Because, this was my house. This was a sliding glass door. Now, can they see this? Now it's a French door. And we pulled this over just for the lighting. But these, like I said, normally stay put. And this, we have it as a French door now, but it used to be a sliding glass door. So I just use panels on mine. And these can be drapes too. So that's one thing. You could also use roller shades in here, and they just go down over the door. But you'd want to separate them so that you don't have to do one long one, like where the door typically opens up and slides open. That would be a separate shade so that you can raise that one and still get out. Does that make sense? Okay, that's what I would do. Alrighty, guys. So I have a last couple of things I want to say. I hope you've enjoyed this session, and I hope you're telling all your friends about it and that they're going to join you next time. And by the way, the girls that I first mentioned, let me check your names again, Denise and Barb from Florida. Guys, I think this is so cool that you're doing this together, and it's your first session. It's kind of like watching The Bachelor, right? You get your girlfriends together, and we could be Robson Nation. I like that. It has a ring to it. I mean, a little plagiarism, but works for me.
No big deal.
So I think that's really cute. It is the kind of thing that you might want to get some friends together, one Saturday a month, and talk about interior design and get your questions together and kind of work on your houses together with a friend. All right, I want to tell you the next session is on March 25th. It's a Saturday, same time, same location, and it's going to be all about spring cleaning. So not only am I going to show you, like, for example, I just did my whole wardrobe section of my bedroom, so I'm taking you into my bedroom. I don't do that for very many people. In fact, my videographer is like, really? We got to go film in there? Yeah, we do. So we're going to be filming from my bedroom next time, and I'm going to show you everything I've done in there, as well as my laundry room, other areas of my house, how I have taken my limited amount of space. People think I live in this huge home. By the way, have you seen my newest video? You guys, it's 10 top hacks, home hacks. the young people who work for me, they thought that name up. I don't know what that means, but it was my idea of clever things that I did in my house since we bought this house. I show all the before photos of my home and the afters. And this morning, I uploaded it last night, and this morning when I got up, right now, I don't know what it has now, but it had like, it must have over 30,000 views in less than 24 hours, which is a lot of views for us, where our goal is usually to get 50,000 in the first week. So to get over 30,000 in what, 12, 13 hours is pretty amazing. All that to say, everyone is loving this video. So when you're done watching this, be sure to go over and watch our YouTube video because I think you're going to love it. I take you through my entire house, well, not the entire house, most of my house, and I show you 10 really creative things that I've done. Some of them more expensive, but a lot of them inexpensive. So back to the design sessions. This one on spring cleaning, I'm going to show you how to organize and keep your house in great shape. And you know what? I don't know about you, but there is nothing like a clean house. This isn't going to be about cleaning because I don't do that much. But it's about organizing and keeping it clean once it is clean. So it's going to be fun. And even for those of you who are young and you don't have a home for yourself, you've got a bedroom. And you know what? You need to know how to keep your stuff neat and organized. And by the way, coming, I think next week, my video on how to organize and store your jewelry. And it is a fabulous video. Oh, you guys are not going to believe it. I'm going to show you all my jewelry and what I did with this huge, humongous pile mess. It's amazing. Makes it fun to get dressed in the morning. I do want to tell you one last thing. I know we're about out of time, but this is, okay, here they're going like this, and I'm going, This is one of the most important things that I need to say to you. We have taken extreme measures and spent a lot of money to take the design sessions to the next level. I think you can tell by the quality of what you're getting here just in the session alone. But more importantly, we have hired a call center. And this is very, very important. I know that, even me, sometimes I forget my passwords, I forget my logins. You're already here, so you've already got your login and password, but if you ever have to redo it, make it easy. Make your login, your email, and your password something really simple so you don't forget, because that's one of the most common things. But some people are having issues with different things technically or whatever. I just want you to know the call center will answer your questions. We've created multiple, I don't know, what do you call it, scripts of these are the answers to these kinds of questions. So if you have a problem, here's what you need to do. We're actually going to post it on our website very soon, but the way you get a hold of them now, if you have a problem in the future, please write this down somewhere you will have and you can not lose it. And that is call our office number, which is 858-693-6333. Pretty good number, huh? All divisible by threes, except for the 858. And 693-6333. And then push option 1. And that will redirect you to the call center. All right? So we want you to be satisfied with your experience here, not only what the content is, but logging on and getting a hold of your information. All right? Good. So I'm glad you know that. The other thing is you can always access through the email account, which is designsessions@ropesanddesign.com. And through that, we forward that to the call center and they can answer your question. Bottom line is this. We have thousands of people who are members of the design sessions. And way too many for us as a very small team and an interior design firm to properly service. So we've taken this measure to make sure that you guys have your questions answered. And we look forward to seeing you every single time here at Ropes and Design, at the design sessions. And I have one last thing I wrote down. I already said that. Okay, I guess we're done. Did you learn anything about window treatments? Are you gonna go do it now? So excited. I can see now there's gonna be a rush on beefy curtain rods, right? Yes. Okay, love you. Bye-bye. See you next time.